public zoning hearing of the city of Oldham. This is in regard to zone change from, excuse me, ma'am. Okay. The zone change from A to R1 on a 17.59 acre tract out of a 43.903 acre tract, more or less being described as tract 2 in a deed recorded in document number 428560, deed records of San Patricio County, Texas, and also being out of blocks 122 and 123 of the Boulder and Oldham subdivision, San Patricio County, Texas. On the track. Let me show you the track.
Big bag of you want it in your face.
Yes, okay. Yes, that's one. Yes. Do we have any comments or concerns regarding
Our area?
Oh,
Flower Mart?
yes, the
Yes.
area that's gonna get set up.
We do have some.
This is a time to.
Do we stand or
What do we
sit?
do?
I've never done this before.
Tag
team.
Well-
Go ahead and say your name.
My name is Sandra Vasquez,
Henry Vasquez.
and we live at 116 Flournoy. And that is affecting us tremendously. This whole flooding area has been something that's been, we've never seen it the worst ever since this new subdivision has like stirred up when the streets opened up, it's like in an incline. And our concerns are, we have a lot of elderly, like across the street. I tried to like encourage them to come, but some of them work night shifts. They're just like, there's no hope. They don't have any hope in them. They feel like this is not gonna be resolved, like it's just gonna pass through. But the flooding is horrible right now. Then after that, we get like all the trash or whatever, the dirt, everything just like piles up in our area. Sometimes we're not even able to leave our home. We're trapped there. And this is like the Flower area. We're in the cul-de-sac, so we're basically right in the where it's hitting us. Cause
We're on Route
Like
Place
this.
in Flournoy.
Huh?
Right on the corner. Pretty much.
yeah, pretty much.
That was before the subdivision.
No, honey,
That was before the subdivision.
we've
But
been
it's
there
worse
since
now.
we've been there. We have
Yeah, it's to the point where we can't get out.
Miss Tidwell, but we have been there since before my son, who's 11.
We've been
was
there 12
born.
No,
years.
because Christie Hoffman was there.
Right.
Who?
Christie
Yeah.
Hoffman.
Well,
That's over there at the very end. We're in the cul-de-sac. We're like we're meant to
Well,
serve.
there's pictures of stuff.
pretty much, yeah. But it's gonna get worse. It was worse, I think June, July, August, whenever we had that
More
rain.
rain this year than we ever had.
Yeah.
And it's just gonna get.
And,
That's the thing. The weather is getting like weird. It's unpredictable. And I mean, our neighbor across the street, he's having to pay out of his pocket to lift up foundation. Like the foundations are like messing up. People are wanting to move out. It's not fair to us. Like we're Odom. We've been living there for a long time. To be moving out for a new subdivision for us, it's not fair because I've never seen it like this. And I wouldn't be here speaking on this because of the fact that I walked around and I asked my neighbor in our area that's being affected. And it's like, it is bad. It is really bad. And they're like, all hope is lost. And they're like, well, it doesn't matter. Nothing's going to get resolved. And it's like, no, we need to be the voice because it's. No, even Hurricane Harvey it was not as that. It was not set up like that.
It's just,
So what is that? What are you trying to say? I'm a little confused. You're like, so do you want to live in my street, my home, and then tell me how it is? Because you drive in the flood with the frogs and the snakes and stuff that crawl over there. It's very unsafe for our children. They build a lake or whatever they built over there in the subdivision. There's no fencing.
They're gonna-
Well, there's not yet. And the thing is that it's coming to our area. So we're getting all the debris of everything. and then whatever's in that water is coming to us too. So like we have a galore of frogs, we have a galore of snakes. I mean, it's
That
kind
we
of
do,
like,
yeah.
what's gonna happen to our kids? Our kids
Well,
can't
it's
even
just
go
when
play.
they open route place, I saw it slope this way. I've laid asphalt, I've poured cement before, and when I saw it, I was like, that ain't gonna work out. When it rains, it's gonna come to me. So sure enough, all that dirt came to me. I'm not gonna do it because it's backbreaking work trying to take all that mud. And as it is, I've never had mud on my sidewalk. So I shoveled that out a little bit, but there's still more there, and I'm like, I'm not gonna do that. That's too much work. And if you go by it, it's still there. So whatever houses are being built, the dirt's going to come this way. Whatever trash they have is going to come my way, and it's going to stop there. Before you get to my house, there's a little slope, a little concrete slope. It collects there. So the neighbor in front of me, his name's Roel, he cleans that out. And it's just not right. If it's going to be done, do it right. Whoever's building the homes. I don't know if he doesn't want to do it. Build a wall, build your own ditch, keep your own water over there, and we'll keep ours.
Something's got to give, honestly, because I see that like a lot of the people in our area, they're just very they're just
And
like,
they're not going to come and speak.
they're not.
Shy.
They're
I
just
didn't even
like,
want to come today, but I'm here. So
I told them, well, we have to
But-
be the voice for our people. Like, this is our barrio. Like, it's our street. It's not fair to us that we have to endure that and just continue to just like, well, this is the way it is. No, it shouldn't be the way it is. That's the truth, like the honest truth about it.
Because I know back then, when it used to flood, the mud area.
No.
The mud was flooding.
It's horrible.
Because that grass was growing.
No, but
But
even
now
like
they do
even
that.
like the
Why should they be the ones having to clean
Yeah.
it up? They should
Yeah.
not be the ones.
Not every time, no, yeah.
Our city, our guy shouldn't be the one cleaning it up because it's something that has to do with them.
but even the buildup, like it's really weird. Like our homes are like the water's being built up and it's coming into our our shower, like dirt, debris. I don't know where it's coming from. So who's that? It's not ours. It's a city, but the city said they were gonna, whenever, a couple of years ago, we had this problem. They said that that we were gonna have to pay for that. And it's like, okay, can you imagine with the flooding? Then they said they were gonna fix the city. This was before you were mayor. They said they were gonna fix all this stuff and I haven't seen, I mean, it's getting worse and better. So at this point, what do you do?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not here to conflict, to be like contradict anybody. I believe in growth, but I also do believe that you got to remember that we're taxpayers too, and we shouldn't have to endure this. And we have been living there longer than the people that are going to be moving in. So what are you going to do to protect or to help us?
Or it
that
should be done
haven't-
right. Do it correctly. If you have to add something new to the old, go ahead and do it.
Because it looks like the way they started the whole new cul-de-sac that or whatever they're doing over there, it's still an incline. So you're going an incline here and then we're in an incline. So we're taking everything. We're going this way because the house going to the flower narrow, you're going down. So we're in the bottom. And then they built theirs high down. So we're getting everything.
Yeah.
So it's like,
And
At
pretty
one
soon
point-
we'll be getting trash from the neighbors. So that's where it's going to end, where we're at.
and that's just our concerns is because I did go around and talk to my neighborhood, like where we're at, where we're affected, where we have to wait to see, okay, the big truck's gonna come, okay, let's go, follow. And it's like not fair to us because we pay a lot of taxes already and then it's just gonna go up higher and higher for us. And they're like, well, why are you gonna fight it? It's gonna continue. And it's like, that's not right though. That's not Odom. So,
And the people who live around us, they're elderly and they just have a set check. They're not going to like the taxes going up as well. So,
I don't know. That's just, those are our concerns because we got the letter, everybody got a letter and they're like, yeah, some of them didn't understand. So I was trying to explain to them, look, do you see this letter? They're going to build here and our taxes are going to go up and what is going to happen to I'm like, well, apparently the lake is supposed to help them, but it's not helping us. It's supposed to help us. That was going to be I don't know what it is, what they're doing. But there's no fencing. What was it for? But whatever's going in there is coming to us, so why? Yeah, but even with a little bit of rain, even with a little bit of rain, it's happening. And I've never seen it like that. I've seen the flooding, but not as bad.
The ground is so saturated from all the rains since last April and May. The ground is so saturated. We're farmers. And we
Yeah.
live out. And we've never seen the amount of water we have down there. I understand y'all's problem, but we've been here since the beginning of time.
Oh, wow.
I mean, and we were also here and lived close by. And my brother was talking about when that subdivision was built, that has always been like, always. Because he lived on the corner, he used to live on the corner of Cook and, Cooper Road. And when they started doing the subdivision, instead of building the streets up because it was already low, they dug it out. So it's been, and y'all have probably no gutters. No way for the drainer to go, the water to go off, it's just gravity. And, I mean, I agree it's a problem. I thought they were gonna have the water drainage district here.
They couldn't come. They couldn't come.
Because they need to be involved. There's some other
They
things
put
I
it
just
into
don't
an
know.
alternative
I understand.
on Cooper Road and then-
Mhm. Well, like where we're at Flower Night, we're by Mr. Green, it's bad. A little bit of rain, it's like we're gonna run late because it's like, I mean, but the snake problem is bad. I mean, I have little boys. I mean, even myself, the frogs are. I've never seen so
We
many
have
frogs.
frogs
in
running out our ears.
I'm like,
in our house.
whoa, like,
Yeah.
huh?
My thing is, why did Route Place, have a slant? Why couldn't it be built in a slant the other way?
Yeah, like going to the
They
other.
had to go all the way to 37.
Yeah, it's not right. I mean, we're right there.
I mean, but have you seen that our road, like, even when when the freeze happened, we couldn't leave because we couldn't get out of our road. It was like an incline, so.
But I just wonder if a group of y'all from that subdivision, have y'all ever talked to the drainage district?
No, the drainage.
That's who
no.
you-
That's the people in charge.
So it has nothing to do with the
It
city?
doesn't have anywhere to go.
Oh, okay, then,
Yeah.
why did y'all send us the letter then? I'm confused.
No, the letter has to do with the subdivision that they're talking, that's coming in. That's
Okay.
the letter that we're sending.
But
They,
the drainage
excuse me,
district-
they have to send a letter to everybody to
Mhm.
let you know that it's gonna be changed from, because right now it's still considered agriculture. So what we're here for is to change it to residential, and you all have to be notified. Because
Right.
everybody needs to be notified that we're doing the planning and zoning to change it to residential.
Yeah, because I remember there was just a bunch of like crops and
I
stuff. like
farmed
that.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like in April, it just got started, he started,
Well, all that water comes from, see, it's, the farther you go up Cooper Road, the higher it gets. All that water drains down this way.
so you understand our like concern on that, right? That it is flooding. I mean, it is, I'm not lying, it's the truth.
But the drainage district needs to be involved.
Okay.
Well, the drainage district did give them recommendations for staying follow. They didn't follow the recommendations that this people.
Did you get that in writing, what they had?
We have it ready. Yes, we have it ready.
Oh, no,
I
I'd like to
wouldn't
see
be
it.
talking about it if I don't have it.
I'd like to see it.
But
I just like, I'm just concerned for like for me, I'm healthy. The elderly people, what if they need to get out? If they're sick or something,
They
how are
ain't
they
going
gonna get out if it's flooded? If it's like something another hurricane or something hits, how are they gonna get out? We get flooded. Like, I mean, you're talking about water this deep. You can't get out. Or sometimes it's higher.
I
We,
went out there because the citizens called me and I went out there and it was like, I was afraid to walk through there, but I had to.
and there's
I had to-
snakes and you don't even know what kind of snakes there are. It's like,
Yes, something-
Yes, I mean, I agree what they're saying, that part of town was really built wrong from the very beginning, it sits really, really low. But the mistakes that were made then shouldn't be made again, because they're building now, so what they're building today shouldn't affect these citizens who have been there already. We can't make the same mistakes that were made whenever that community was built, because you guys make that mistake again today, then it's gonna be made again because somebody else is gonna come, they're gonna expect to be treated like the same. And then what ends up happening, it just continues to pile up. This whole town, I mean, my side of town never flooded. And I know this year's been a really, really bad. I mean, we live behind Stripes, so I have never seen the water get as high as it has in that part. Now, the other side of town, you know, we used to go in boats and save people over there. But I have never seen the water as high as it's gotten in our neighborhood. But it's because the way the water flows, there's just really nowhere to go. I mean, when there's a lot of rain and it's continuous, the water has nowhere to go and it starts to just pile up because the way the system is set up, it's basically gravity. It's going to go to the lowest point. And when that lowest point gets full, then it's got to go somewhere else. And that's when it's going to hit. So the mistakes that were made years ago, that whole neighborhood was, I mean, I have family that live there and they have the same problems you guys have. Those mistakes shouldn't be made again, you know, and that's why we've elected you guys to come in. We don't want the same mistakes. We don't want things done like they were done in the past. You know, I lived in Austin for 25 years. I built a house in Austin, and the builder was a friend of mine from New Braunfels area, San Marcos. He built $1 million homes in San Marcos and New Braunfels. He built my house in Austin. He said, I will never build in Austin again because of the requirements that city had for him. But because the city didn't want to have to be fixing somebody else's problems later. So I don't think that you guys, whatever decisions you make, I don't think the city and the taxpayers need to be fixing somebody else's problems later on. We already have enough of that already. You know, so whatever, I don't know exactly what you guys are thinking about doing, but whatever they build there, whatever happens, it needs to be done right. And it can't be affecting these citizens. I mean, that's just what I have to say.
A lot of the
We
people
probably
around
had
our areas.
25 inches of rain between Odom and Edgewater this year.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, it rained.
They should have
Easily.
used it was the wettest
And-
year in history.
And it is maybe a once in a lifetime like our freeze was. I hope we never see that again, but you never know. But when that once in a lifetime happens, I mean, we live by the ocean where hurricanes are gonna come. Sometimes people don't leave because the hurricane's not really dangerous enough to wanna pack up and leave. It's mostly rain, but when we have tons and tons of rain falling in just a matter of hours, and then the water has nowhere to go, then it's gonna go to its lowest point. And if they don't build this correctly from the very beginning, it's just gonna affect other people and not just their neighborhood, because when their neighborhood floods, that water, the water has to go somewhere else and it's gonna flood the next neighborhood. And then from there, it's gonna flood the next neighborhood. So let's just do it right the first time. Let's not do the way things used to be done in the old days. I mean, we need to move forward in a different direction.
And a lot of our community, they want to move. They're like, you know, we're just gonna move. And
There
it's
should have
like,
been gutters put in
bring
their
out
neighborhood.
old Odom,
The
let's
amount of
let go of
money
old
that they
Odom
put
and
on
bring
top
new
of it,
Odom, and that's not cool. Like, I mean,
No, nothing.
I just think that everybody should be working together.
Yes.
The drainage district, the new subdivision, it all needs help. Loma Vista, that street closest to Skull Acres,
Oh, yeah.
that floods. And there's a ditch between Loma Vista and Skull Acres, but it's all,
is that where we're at?
Skull Acres.
Oh, okay, okay. No, I've never heard of Skull Acres.
what's it called?
Skull Acres.
Oh.
Is it?
Okay.
You ever heard of it?
It sounds scary to
That's
me.
how long I've lived.
Well, so you know, like, to be able, like, now people are wanting to, people, not to be offended, but like your age, wanting to move. Odom, when you've been here forever, like, this is your hometown, like, that's not cool. To say, well, it's just better just to move to go somewhere else. It's not, so you're gonna send out the old people, like send out the old residents that have been here forever to bring in new residents? I mean, no, I think it needs to be, it's always been a problem. Obviously, it worse this year, but, people need to work together and work together and try to.
And you don't know Connie Gary that's working tonight, they're doing
My cousin.
they flooded their backyard, flooded all, and they were getting water in their house years ago.
She moved out already.
Yeah. They went to Colorado and hired out.
I'm just saying, like, I'm with all the things that I'm trying to work with people, like, I was trying to tell people, like, the people around us and they're like, well, the secretary's office is the same thing. It's not, that's when they come to talk to the tenants, it's like, they're gonna be there, like, worlds.
It was different when it was just fields. You
Yes.
know, because the water kind of goes to the, when you start putting asphalt down
Yes.
and you start putting curbs down, then now you're redirecting the water. And it's not like just an open field where the water already has its path and it knows it's used to going in a certain direction. When you start laying down asphalt, putting curbs up, now you're redirecting that flow of water, and that the water needs to be flowing in the right direction, not to the neighbors, not to the next community, not to the subdivision next to you. It needs to go somewhere where it's not gonna affect anybody else. It's different. Yeah, we could say, well, that land's always been there. Yeah, but it's always been farmland, and the water's always flowed in a different direction. Now you're laying asphalt, you're putting curbs, and the retention pond, that retention pond better go in the right direction, because once it gets full, it starts to overflow, and it's just gonna go. I know because my community in Austin used to have a retention pond, and then in the summer, when we had that long heat wave where our retention pond basically was just mud, and it stunk our whole neighborhood. You know, because the retention pond dried out, and it was just mud and whatever fish and dead whatever was under there.
Yeah.
Our whole neighborhood stunk, and I paid $230,000 for my house. You know, I didn't want it stinking like dead fish and dead animals. So that retention pond is not the cure-all to the problem. I mean, let's just do it right.
I just thought, I'm waiting for the alligator.
If a builder,
Yeah.
if a builder's gonna come here, he needs to know what he's getting himself into. He needs to know the land that he's purchasing and what he's gonna do with it, and if he's gonna do it, whatever he's gonna do there, it needs to make sure that it's not gonna affect the rest of the community. Because eventually, if they don't do it right, it's gonna affect not just them, it's gonna affect the next neighborhood, and then that neighborhood's gonna get affected, and so on. So, and I know, like I said, we never had so much water at our house. My grandmother's house had water on top of the porch this last year, and we've never, even Hurricane Celia in the 70s, we didn't get flooded out like that.
This is back behind Stripes.
Yeah, behind Stripes back there.
Yeah.
Okay, on that note, I live in Oak South. When Lori did it, she put a date, the first time it flooded. But then they put they put a big ditch in there, I think that was, and it looks perfect. Looks perfect. You never flooded yet.
Yeah, I think there's gonna be a solution to it.
Yeah, this should, yeah. And once that happens,
Sounds to me like it's bigger than Skull Acres or this new subdivision going in. The county's gonna have to do something. They have to have somewhere.
exactly.
That's what I
Want them
think.
to solve it
Well,
all.
like I said, we have to get the county involved, but,
Right.
you know,
They're
it's they're doing this backwards, but it's working.
Yeah.
If you other than, no, ditches.
I mean, I feel their pain. I've had water in my house, so.
We have had that too, and everything's shifted, like everything in our house is shifted, like the foundation is all messed up, and it's like, I just think to myself, is this really, like, our taxes are gonna go, how are we gonna sell our homes or do whatever now?
You're built on clay soil. When it gets hot, it's like concrete, when it gets wet, it's swelling and everything.
But I really think
I
it's,
think this gentleman is confident, he knows, he knows. You know, it's right.
I just
He's
think
been doing
that
concrete the rest of his life.
when you have an elderly, like having, what this week, he was having the concrete
Due West Foundation.
Due West Foundation for repair, and I'm like, they're like on a limited income, right? And they're elderly, and I'm like, that's not fair to them that they're having to pay that money to fix their foundation because of the water. It's never been like that, and they've been there longer than we have, you know?
Jesse, weren't you here in 1984, when it flooded Odom? It rained 24 inches back here on Cooper Road. We have water 18 inches deep in our house. So it can flood. Odom held the record for a 12-hour rainfall on Weathertown. That was in 84.
Yeah, I think after that, you know, as we start to build up, one person, they went through his house. But he,
It was bad.
there's a solution.
there's a solution.
Yes, there's that, I hope there's a
I mean-
solution.
I mean, I have to say that I thought we came last week, it was kind of hostile. I don't like to see it like that here in Odom. I think things can be worked out,
Exactly.
you know, in a civil manner.
And where do y'all live, if you don't mind me asking?
Off the Edward Highway.
Oh, Everett. So you're going this way, further out, right?
Yeah, we're past Edward.
Tell them where you used to live when you were a kid.
Oh, well, we grew
Behind
up
high
in
school
the,
baseball field.
we grew up in the two-story yellow wood frame house. It's right behind the baseball.
Through the little private road.
Yeah.
Oh,
We used to go
okay.
hunt rabbits back there, and and probably your dad will probably run us off. We'd go hunt rabbits back there.
You
can't imagine
This is a
doing
private
that.
road.
Don't feel alone, he ran a lot of people.
And now guess what?
Now it's him.
Well, I was born and raised in Odom. I'm a Hinojosa maiden name, but I just like, I've never seen, where I live now, I'm like, I don't like Odom anymore.
Are
It's
you
like,
kin to Louis, you know? Louis, you know?
Luis, that's my uncle.
Louis, yeah. We went to school with him.
Yeah. So I just I've never seen, or maybe I just don't remember, I don't know, but I just never seen it like this. And I thought I was living in a good neighborhood. I'm like, maybe I need to go back to First Street and.
Well, in some cases, like the case we had this year, it rains so much rain so fast, that water can't run off. You know, I live right there on Cook Street, right down there, about just past the old gymnasium by the
Uh-huh.
pool. My driveway right there was a foot deep in water. And that's
Do
one of
you
the higher
get
parts of
snakes?
town. Huh?
Do you have snakes in the water? Like, I literally have seen snakes and stuff, and I'm like, what the heck is
Well, we
this
have
from?
snakes in our neighborhood.
Well, I'm not a farmer, so I'm like, I don't know what to do with these snakes. I'm like, I'm just waiting for an alligator. I'm like,
We farm on them.
Yeah, we run too, just like everyone else.
Yeah, we do.
I just stay inside and close the door. Like, don't go out, boys. So those are my concerns, our concerns.
Everybody's concerned.
Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, I understand.
You should have quit back there, sir.
I'm kind of like a sponge in here, okay?
Yeah,
He's thinking, he's
I know.
filled it up.
I don't know if you want to know what I'm going to say. I will say this, it's probably pretty evident this stuff's going to happen. That somebody's going to put his houses out. Even though I think he's lowering a snake's belly because he knows that place floods. And he's still going to do it. So it may be a crook because he's going to screw over all those poor people that are going to buy these 330 up houses. They're innocent people. They don't know what they're going to get into. That kind of bothers me. Because I am a God-fearing man, and I know I'm going to get judged one of these days. And like I said before, if you see a wrong and you don't do something to correct that wrong, you're just too bad. And that's how I feel. And, you know, I came to Odom from Max, which was a real upbeat. That's all I'm gonna say about Max. But, I do, you know, this was a small, clean, almost zero crime. I think, I don't know any real serious crime in other than one house got broke into years ago. And you know what? I think the majority of people of Odom like it like that. Bigger the town, bigger the problems. If you want to move it into a big town, go to a big town. Leave Odom alone. So I'm really against these new subdivisions. Anywhere along Cooper Road, and especially that new one, because it's in my backyard. And I don't want to look at 89 houses. But here's the thing too. 89 houses, that's going to be at least 2 people in each house. That's 178 people. How many cars are those people going to have? Probably 178 cars added to already the problem we have around in the streets and stuff. But, you know, it's been mentioned that we don't want previous mistakes, and I agree with that. But I know there's going to try and other developers coming in here doing this. And my advice to y'all, get the city the citizens behind you before you make decisions. And like Crook and this gang that started all this mess to begin with, why don't you that's what he did? Because he didn't involve the city of Oakland. He did this all on his own. So, you know, I think we should do what we can to take it harder on that developer. I know water is hooked up, sewer is hooked up, again, without any concern for the public, for the citizens of Oakland. If there's any way we can cut that off, I can cut it off. But that's just
Why
my,
do you think that he's done it all on his own? I mean, there was a city council before this one.
well, they got to get, okay, but the citizens of Oakland can have anything to do with it. It's not behind closed doors.
You know, where you live, actually, we would have preferred where you live would have been there too, but, you know, there's progress. And after that subdivision went in, our grandparents' house was empty, but my parents lived right down the road. But some kids from that subdivision literally ripped cabinets off the wall. So I'm
Well, we ended up
saying,
digging a hole and burying the house.
and buried.
You couldn't board it up good enough to keep it.
So I'm just saying, cities grow, things happen, but you know, I don't know why
But
that
don't
came
you
up.
believe the city should have, as a whole, involvement in the decisions of this town? Or you just gonna leave it up to the mayor and council? If we did that here, you see what happened.
That's what the meetings are for, the public.
Yeah, I don't think that we have,
Voting,
I don't think we have a
anything in there
right to
About this new
say what's
subdivision,
done with a piece
about this new subdivision?
I haven't, I'm from the builder, and I can tell you if the builder didn't care, and if he was a crook like you are accusing him, he wouldn't be sending people to hear voices like hers.
Let me
To
ask
see
you
what he
this,
can
you say
remedy.
you work with Nick,
I don't work for him, but I work alongside him.
let me ask you this, you know any lawsuits pending against you?
I don't need another lawsuit, that's not what I'm here for.
That's why I'm saying.
What I'm here for is to
Go
listen to the
investigate
public.
Logan over in Robson.
listen to the,
Same
sorry, sir, I'm
reach.
talking.
Yeah, I know.
So to listen to the public and help remedy, right? If he didn't care, he wouldn't send people to be here and be an advocate for him. Just like Ms. Patricia said, towns grow, they progress. And obviously, there's been a drainage issue for years and the city hasn't worked to fix it. So now developers are coming in and they want to help, they want to fix it, and it's just a matter of integrating plans and communication to help develop and bring growth to Odom. It's not gonna be 1 million people moving, it's just like you said, it might be a couple hundred. How much of that's gonna affect the town? Is it gonna be a disadvantage or an advantage?
But
You know
you're
what I mean?
stating they live in the drainage district, correct?
He's working with the drainage
How come he
district.
didn't work before?
I'm not sure, sir.
Since November 2019.
I'm not a part of the engineering plans, but I know he's complying and I know he's working with the drainage district now. It's not like
Well,
he,
now, now it's our problem.
well, it's what they've been saying, it sounds like there's been a problem with flooding all
Yes,
throughout
that's,
Odom.
we should have investigated and say, hey, is there a problem with, you can talk to farmers, say, is there, okay,
Right, but
let's take care of the problem
So
before we build a subdivision.
We shouldn't make it worse. We shouldn't have to make it worse.
No, like, what was the reason for the lake? I'm just, I didn't understand. the
I don't know,
lake
I'm
part.
not a part of the engineering plans. I'm just here to help him help the problem,
Yeah.
right?
Are you an attorney?
No, I'm not an attorney.
So, like-
Is it a public meeting?
No, I just.
No, but like the way that he built that thing going down, knowing that we're already at the lowest,
We're
right?
not gonna talk about what he's done because we're not.
Oh, I'm
here with
sorry. I'm-
corrections.
Okay. I just want, because she knows you're very knowledgeable of what's going on. I just wanted to know, like, what was the reason behind that?
I don't know what the reason behind it
Okay.
is. All I can tell you is we're here now and we're trying to remedy the
Yes.
situation. So it is a matter of the city, like Patricia said, the city and the district drainage district and the builders all complying together and working together and seeing how they can do it. And it's just like he said, or you said, if it doesn't happen now, then another builder's gonna come
he's gonna make the same mistake, because how can you predict anything? You know, never negative feedback.
I'm 16, almost 16 years old, and I grew up here. And I can tell you right now, I mean, people are talking about flooding in certain parts of the town. Yes, there are some flooding that's been in certain parts of the town, here in Oakland, for years. And that's just really because of the way the city drains, not just the city, the county, the way a lot of the farmland, you know, flows out from the community. What we're saying, hold on, excuse me.
And all that is all drainage.
Hold on. What we're saying is that when you start to develop farmland, farmland is different than when you start to build houses and you start putting asphalt and curbs. You know, you start to when you build roads and you put curbs, you, the developer, are deciding where the water's gonna go now. Farmland, God decides where the water's gonna go. It's just out there. Farmland is open, it's open space. The good Lord decides where I'm gonna send this water. When you guys start building roads and putting curbs, you, the builders, decide, okay, this is where the water's gonna go. We wanna make sure that that water goes in the right direction. That's all.
Right,
That's it.
and that's what we're here
So
for, yeah.
it's not, Odom has never, certain parts of Odom have flooded, yes. But I can tell you that most of Odom, where in Odom South has never had an issue. My part of town has never had an issue. Most of the, probably 80 to 90% of the town has never had a flooding issue, ever. Their part never really had a flooding issue.
It really didn't, honestly.
Until recently. And yeah, we've had some horrendous rain. But what we're saying is, you guys are building roads. You guys are putting up, you know, sidewalks, gutters, curbs. So you guys are gonna decide now where the water's gonna go. We wanna make sure it doesn't come and affect us in town. That's it. That's all it
Right.
is.
And
So,
it's good feedback, this is good
So that's
discussions
it.
to have, because nobody
I
knows.
agree. And I think it was a blessing
Yeah.
that we got so much rain in some ways.
Yeah.
This year, because now is the time that they can
And work with
figure
us,
out what to do.
with the district.
because the next developer will come and he'll buy another 75-acre tract of farmland and he'll say, I'm gonna build here. But yeah, well, now we have less land, now we have more asphalt, more curbs, more, you know, so you're taking away our safety net, basically. Because we've always relied on the farmland to disperse water, but it's not gonna be there.
Well, that's
And
it.
I extremely it with the steel factory and the new refinery, people are gonna start moving into our town. I don't have a problem with that. You know, that's great, but the builders who come in need to ensure that if they're gonna take our safety net, which is the farmland, that's what's kept us from flooding for years. And they're gonna start putting sidewalks, they're gonna start putting asphalt and curbs, that water flows in the right direction and doesn't come and affect us inside the community of Oakland.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
I agree with you, but it's a matter of the public and the locals that know the land and know the environment and the city and helping builders and develop a town properly, so it could be done correctly. And it's just a matter of feedback and a matter of back and forth. Towns are not built in one day. And their growth is inevitable. It's gonna happen regardless if this builder does it or not. It's just like you said, you guys are aware, Texas is growing, Odom is growing, there's a lot of land here, it's gonna be developed. It's just a matter of when. So why not just work with a builder who's willing to give the messages and go back to the engineers and try to see how you can fix it.
Well, was that the builder that was here the last meeting that sat over here somewhere?
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't here, unfortunately, because he probably wouldn't have liked me very much when he got done with the meeting. But I did watch it, you know, on internet or whatever, on YouTube. And it felt to me like he was already dead set on how he's gonna do things. He doesn't want to work with these people and work with us. And when he makes the comment, that's why this little town never grows, that's offensive to us who grew up here. Because this town has grown, trust me, from when I was young, it has grown plenty and it continues to grow. But these people are here because we voted them in. The ones that were there are no longer there because they didn't do what the community wanted. So they have to report to us, you know, and the way I saw, and you said it correctly, it was a very hostile meeting. The more he reacted, the more the council had to respond. And it shouldn't have been that way.
Well, the
So-
council was a little
Hospital
attacked,
I'm sorry.
attacked.
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't here.
I was here, but
I was-
my biggest problem, and I'll tell you right up front, is that you talking about working together. The drainage district they gave them a plan to follow. He decided not to follow it and go his own route. That's why we're here today. We have growth in the town, and the reason they're developing and they're building and they're selling is because they followed the recommendations made by the drainage district and everybody else. So they're continuing to build. This gentleman decided not to follow it. He went his own route. So Mr. Maldonado just mentioned. Now he's taking that drainage of water. Now he is liable for that installing because he didn't follow the plan that was put together by the drainage district that we continue to talk about working together. They gave him a plan. He didn't
They
follow it.
gave him a recommendation, which they didn't follow the recommendation that the drainage district gave them. And we had-
So don't they-
Is your house, y'all's house right next to the field right there?
And remember,
Okay.
it started to like, they started to like cut down
Well,
part like
I
in
used to
April.
farm in it,
Yeah,
and there's no ditch, there's nothing there.
but there's ditches in the new subdivision, cause I walk it. I
Well, see,
it.
that's how they would carry the water out, is a ditch where Connie lives. Remember?
Connie is in Vista. I'm on. the-
Yeah.
But
And
there's
her
a ditch.
place, and there is no drainage, it's grown up, there's no ditch. That water
It used to
just
be a ditch.
builds up right there, there's no way to
That's a
get it
big-
out.
That's a big gap.
Jenny, was
So
there a
what do
ditch,
you do?
was there a ditch behind your house? I think it was, wasn't it? Behind your house, Jenny? Was there a ditch back then?
There was some, because the way it is now is flush. Well, actually, it's a little higher up.
Cause they
Yeah.
built that.
Yes, yes.
That's the
Because
problem.
Our grandparents' house is in their.
I
we
think
still
you're in
own
my
their
area,
lot.
right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's right there
Roughly.
between.
Yeah, Flower, yeah.
Can I use an example? And so you guys, because you guys aren't from here. Where the high school is now, and that parking lot, that used to be a field. And their Vista and that neighborhood has been there when it was just cotton fields there and sorghum fields, whatever they decided. When they decided to build that high school, there was a lot of concerns that Vista was gonna flood because they depended on that field to redirect the water. But the engineers that put that together did such a good job that Vista didn't suffer from that. Even though it's a bunch of asphalt, there is no more, pretty much no dirt there anymore. They built a new baseball field, and none of that ever affected the community that sat right next to it. Because they worked with the city, they worked with the engineers and the drainage district to ensure that they were gonna cover up all that dirt, which, like I said, for us, it's a safety net because it helps redirect the water away from us. And it never affected the neighborhood right next to it because it was done correctly.
But this
That's all
does-
we ask. Well, it does now, yeah. It does
It
now.
has.
It has?
Oh, yeah.
Always.
Before the field, before the
yeah.
school was there? No, we used to. we
Like
used to have
that,
a
flood like that, the
Not
way
like
it's
that.
flooding now?
I mean, the street used to get water, yeah, but like the water get into the yards and into the houses, I had never seen it
That
get
one
like that.
street that's closer to Skull Acres.
Is that why Connie, no,
I don't
I've
remember
never
getting
seen,
it flood
honestly,
like that,
the
never.
past year and a half, I've never seen the water flood, even with a little bit of rain. It doesn't matter if it's a lot of rain or whatever. It's horrible. It is very like, I mean, you can't get out of your house. You're entrapped there. You're really like, it's bad. I mean, you're basically like, oh, when it rains, oh, great. There you go.
Well, tomorrow, our engineer will be meeting with the drainage district. Our engineer.
I didn't know I had to meet
Our
with the
engineer-
drainage
Our
district.
engineer was never involved with anything that was being done with them. He was never notified of the building. Of the developer coming down or anything like that. So, and it should have been in the best interest to have gotten him else.
I feel, in my opinion though, no offense, Mayor, that, it was rushed because honestly, it was like like maybe April, right? That it was like a dead end, right? They closed it out, right? So it was like, okay, they were still filled. Which, thank you for taking care of our fill. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess something's gonna happen here. And we never got notice that something, we knew of it because they were talking like word of mouth, but never like a notice that we got to.
So that's where that's where they should have planning and zoning.
Did y'all ever get a letter saying that they were gonna get an annexation?
Yeah,
Because
see how that-
y'all should have gotten a letter.
I never remember, and the people I talked to, they said that they never, we don't ever remember getting there, not as it got lost
This
in the
was like
middle.
probably in 2019.
Yeah.
So that's what happened, they put that, and that would stop the process.
Jamie was on
See, these.
Did you get a notice?
I don't.
See, Cooper Road carries all that water.
This-
Cooper Road carries all that water. Well, anything draining into it, gravity, like Flournoy, it's gonna take forever to move that. Yeah.
There's nowhere to go.
Well, see, these meetings that are happening right now should have been happening early part of 2020, before anything was ever put out there, roads, curbs, anything like that. It didn't happen. That's why it's happening now, a year and a half later. Because it was not done right. It should have happened way back then.
Yeah.
And it's not
She didn't
your
think
fault
the
here.
process.
Because my dog went missing like in the middle of March, and I was still in the field looking for my dog, my Siberian Husky, and it was filled. And then all of a sudden, it was like, all of a sudden, we have streets, we have this, I'm like, what happened? They just started demolishing, and then we just like, it just like turned into like, okay, I guess it's subdivision.
Oh, there's been a sign up there for.
There was not a sign, it was just like a block, no, not where we're at, where it's affecting us.
On Cooper Road, there's a sign showing.
Not on Cooper Road, on Flowery, where we're affected. We never, it was just, they just put a dead end thing, like
We
a,
don't pass by that sign.
we don't
go
pass
that
by
side
Cooper
ever.
Road.
Y'all don't go.
No, we
further.
We
hit
just go-
77 and we're
yeah.
gone. We never go that way.
It
We got
just,
no business
we
on
know, I mean, there's no business to go to Cooper Road.
The zoning, for the zoning changed. Isn't there?
And I really thank you for taking care of our little field, I like the field. It took our rest. Now we have like field right, let's go.
I don't think there's any underground drainage
No,
either.
no underground drain.
I don't know.
It all has to
You
go
would, you
down the
would know
ditch.
more than us.
Well, I don't think there's any underground drain.
No, it works its way to the ditches, which work their way to the highway. And then
Right.
they get on
Gotta
the
go
highway.
out.
And I feel bad
477.
for Mr. Green, because I'm like, Mr. Green, you gotta move your car up because I think it's gonna rain today, let's think it's gonna rain, because the rain, like, weather's unpredictable. And, you know, he's an elderly, so I'm like, you have to move her, because he's up, so I'm like, basically, I really care for, like, you know, I know he's,
Yeah, no, he was a great behind me.
yeah.
We're all the
So he-
same.
No, but,
He's my cousin.
no, but he's a really nice gentleman, and I'm like, you have to move your car up, because I worry for his car, like, it could go in the I mean, your car, if you don't move your cars up,
It's going.
it's gonna go, and I'm like, where is he gonna go? Or if he could fall and drown, you know, because it gets really
The
bad.
drainage is terrible in this county. The state doesn't do anything. It's all left up to the drainage.
So where do
City
you go
don't
with
do-
the drainage?
There's no drainage equipment. The city doesn't have any, the county doesn't have any. They leave it all up to the drainage district.
I go out to my mom's.
I know all how it works out there.
Well, you should have like boycotted this. He started demolishing your field. You took care of it, you knew your field.
I still farm right there,
You do?
right on the other side of where the subdivision is. Yeah.
I've been here for 7 years.
And you're right about that pipe, the whole pipe.
There's no underground.
No, and that was a recommendation from the drainage district for them to install underground pipe.
But they said here last week that the drainage district told them that it didn't have the depth down. So that the drainage district recommended for them to put the retention ponds. But I don't think that was the case. That's what they said, that there was not enough depth.
What does
But
that
we're gonna
mean?
find out tomorrow.
Like
Not
depth,
enough
you
to
mean?
put- like for the drainage for.
So we're just gonna have those ponds?
The engineer, the drainage district.
Did you ever get letters? You're doing that, they're trying to ready to, are you did you ever get letters?
Well, I just want to tell you guys, I love the idea of using families. I love the idea of growing, because I know that cities like Portland, and cities like that, and they're all this way. I believe a lot. The tax revenue that we get from those homes is enormous. The problem is that, like, you know, we want the builder to work with our community leaders and to do what needs to be done to ensure that when it's all done and he's putting up these, you know, $300,000 homes, that it's not gonna affect, you know, the neighbors, you know, because like you said, we have no underground drainage here. It's all gravity. And when the ditches by the highway get full, everything just starts to back up and all the neighborhoods. And like you said, and Janie knows where I live. She grew up over there on my side of town too. And we, even through Hurricane Celia, we never saw water come to the front door. My grandmother's house had water at the front door this last year. And but it's really because as we build more roads and we build more you know, curbs and stuff, water still has to find a way. And so it ends up.
I just want to know if we need to move, we'll move.
We're gonna, right now, we're gonna close the public, just the public here right now, because we have a meeting. Now we have a meeting. Okay. So now we're gonna have the public, the special meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. It's like I told them last week, right now, we're here, all of us are here as the Planning and Zoning Commission. We're the same people that do the planning and zoning, that do the city council. But right now, we're not city council, we're planning and zoning. We're a different hat. The same people with a different hat. You have to just have to check. Okay, this one is, the notices are given that the Planning and Zoning Commission of the City of Orland, Texas will meet at the Orland Public Library, the Naval Room in Orland, Texas, November 17th. Okay, that was, what's in the, it's 7:20, we close the public hearing. At 7:23, we're gonna start the regular meeting. The special meeting of the Planning and Zoning. Which meeting is it? It's a special meeting, yeah, it's unusual, sometimes we have closed session. No, we're gonna say closed session right now. Sorry, I just.
All together at the same time.
We should always put some.
I email them all together at the same time.
Okay, another special meeting, I do declare a quorum, we have a case from the commissioners, we do have a quorum. So this is to discuss, consider, and take action to allow zone change from agriculture to residential one on a 17.59 acre tract out of 43.903 acre tract, more or less being described as tract 2 and the deed recorded in document number 438560, deed records of San Patricio County, Texas, and also being out of the blocks 122 and 123 of the Roger and Golden subdivision in San Patricio County, Texas. Okay, what this is doing is, all it is that the zoning commission, all we're here to do is either to change it from residential, from agriculture to residential. That's all, because it's already been annexed, yeah. But this is just to, because they're still considered agriculture right now. They're considered agriculture, even though they're in the city limits, they're considered agriculture.
Those are one track. lots.
Yes, I think they're.
That's supposed to be one track, and then we do residential, then break it up to.
Now you can, I'll answer anything about this.
But do we even have any say, like, is our input matter at this point?
Yeah. Then make sure.
I mean, with the drainage company, is that what you're saying, the drainage?
They're meeting right.
To say, okay, they can start building now, they can build out there, but they can't build them until they get their issues straight, basically. It's just,
Okay,
I'm gonna ask for the planning and zoning committee not to approve, not to change anything until the builder goes back to the board and starts fixing his issues and problems. That's gonna be my recommendation. Don't think we should go forward with anything. When I come back after problems get fixed, then we can go back to the square to the board. But other than that, that's gonna be, I'm asking for you to consider that. I know your vote's your vote. But I think we heard it from the civil. I think not. The more that you empower it, the more votes they get.
That's the motion.
It was my recommendation.
What's up?
Because they've not met with the drainage district, but with you all as well as with Park. Like, there has not been one meeting altogether, everybody to discuss like what was recommended from the drainage district.
I think that's taking place tomorrow.
Well, I don't think we should do it. If you're asking for output in, I don't think we should do it yet until, like, it really gets resolved, because somebody can get really hurt with this flooding. Like, when I say that, like, we are getting a lot of, like, different, and I'm telling you, we have snakes and stuff when any rain, it doesn't matter how much rain you get. I've never seen it like this. And we have a lot of elderly in our neighborhood, and we're in the pit of it. So I don't think that anything should get resolved until they fix us first, and then they can work on them, because it's not fair to us.
Let me just say something. From a legal standpoint, my concern that the attorney and the advisory do with the council, that's only this project was approved already to go forward in last year. And that's a big problem, because it's been approved and this guy's trying to rely on these things in order to go forward, and they started developing. Again, it's not this council's fault. It's like putting say that the park before the horse, or the horse before the park. And we're trying to do things backwards now. Yeah, but the project has been approved to go forward. And what needs to happen now is that council, our engineer, his engineer, the developer, and the drainage people need to go and do and make a final walkthrough of that area and see if it complies with everything. Whether they've addressed the drainage issue, whether they've addressed the pond, the lift station, some of the other issues that were filed. That's why we need our engineer. Our engineer was never involved in any of this. We're in the dark. So that's why we need that final walkthrough, and I think that's the basis of the approach to that meeting tomorrow, is to go forward and make that walkthrough and point out, okay, this still needs to be addressed. And that's before the mayor can sign off on that final plan. But this year, as far as what the council doing here tonight, is just changing it from, it's already been done, and they've already started developing that area. When the council approved it back in May, that's my opinion of this issue.
It's just a zone change. It's just a change of the zone.
So we're not doing moving forward, we're just
Changing the zone. That's all you're doing is changing the
To
zone.
me, that's one
Planning
step
and zoning
closer.
from
To me, that's one step closer. So it's not just.
Now, let me ask
It's
a
one
question.
step closer. They would have followed the plot.
Yeah.
If they would have followed the recommendations,
You're-
if they would have, then we wouldn't be in the situation.
You are correct.
So all I'm not gonna do,
But the thing is, it's already there.
Now, did they, okay, let me ask a question. Legal question. Did they do the 43.90 or did they put, on the zoning see now it's different. This is a different apple here. Because they did zone, A, that's 43.903. This one,
Next,
yeah, this one here, they brought it down to 17 point. So
to
that's
be
a,
changed,
that's a different, we
to
got,
be changed. All they're changing the zone
So-
on is 17 point or whatever
so, but
acres.
Josh said last time that that's 43 acres, that's a different, that's a different.
43 acres that got annexed,
That's, so this is a different.
Not zone change.
not zone change. The zone change is only the 17 point,
Right.
whatever that is.
So then,
And now if he goes to phase 2, he's gonna have to go through the same process from planning and zoning to do a zone change.
well, I make a motion, we just table this until we get all this resolved.
If you table this,
Yes.
you will have to start from scratch all over again.
Now, what is-
With public hearings all over again,
Well, they can-
that have
they
to be
can
not
say
less
they
than
were-
10 days, not more than 20, and we're prolonging it. The thing is that it's already there, and all this is going to do is change the zoning from agricultural to residential. There's still a final step that needs to happen,
So
which
it's not
is
a
the
big
city
deal, why the
council.
rush? It's not a big deal, why the
No,
rush?
it is a big deal because it's already there. This should have happened in late 2019, early 2020, but it didn't. It should have, but it didn't. So now that's why we're here.
Can I,
Nobody's fault is here, but the final step is not taken yet. The city council is the one that's gonna take the final step.
I understand that, I'm supposed to still get them.
Can I ask something since I live in that area that's being affected? Can someone get their hands dirty and knock door to door and ask these people that live in our area to say, do you know what's happening here? It's gonna progress, it's gonna keep going. This is what, because this is happening to our neighborhood. So can someone please, city or whoever, or attorney, to know that, you know what, this is what's gonna happen, it's already been approved, we're gonna progress, we're gonna continue, and just keep the people that live in this area, don't abandon us, because that's what we feel, abandoned.
Okay, let me, Mayor, can you fill us in? If we make this an R1, is the contractor free to start building?
No.
Can you assure the,
They're not, all we're doing is changing it to residential. It's not, they cannot start building.
Until the final plat is signed.
See, the plat needs to be recorded with the county so that they get addresses.
So
Once
that
they
they
get
can
those
start-
addresses, they start doing it. So that's what the issue is right now with the developer of this order. There's been a lot of discussion going back for the last 2 weeks on this. They want the mayor to sign off on the final plan, and we can't sign off on it. We can't sign off until we want to, because we have all these issues that have been urgent.
And that's,
Can
to me, that, I think it's a preliminary study, it doesn't say final. So it's just a preliminary study.
This, what we're doing here today is totally separate from the other issue that we have, where we continue to build. Right now, you can't build it, that's a big problem. That's-
And the mayor signs off.
Yes, yes. And even if we do this right now, if you do accept it, they still, it's not giving them the green light to build, it's just making them,
protocol.
it's a protocol that we have to do, and it's just making them residential. And even if they're residential, doesn't mean that they have to, build, right now. It is a step closer, like you're saying,
But it's not
But-
the final.
But it's a step that is required.
It is a step that it
So-
should have happened.
It should have happened back in
Just like our
2020.
residents have a requirement.
Yes.
I just say, like, have a city, like, go, someone present as the city and say, this is what, or even the builder, and say, hey, this is what's gonna happen, these are the protocols, so we're aware, so we have to move we'll move. Sell our home and move out of Odom, and, I mean, we'll figure out something, because the way we're living is not the way we should be living, any of us.
All this should have been done back then in 1999, early 2020, during the annexation. This is when y'all should have been notified, and your previous people should have been telling y'all what was going on and everything, communicating with you guys. It's something that fell in our hands, and we're trying to do the right thing.
Let me ask-
You guys, but, I mean, we can't just let it happen.
Let me ask a real quick question. I know our attorney, and I don't know how long you've been our attorney. I've seen it raised before. He's giving people advice right now. Why wasn't this advice given to the previous council? And why was this approved back then without going through these steps? I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, hold on, this is ridiculous. You're giving them your legal opinion, but you allowed the last people we had sitting in here, and I told you the last people that were here, they were allowed to do this backwards. And now these people are stuck with it. Why were they not given the same legal advice that you cannot start this project until the zoning has been changed? Because we have gentlemen coming in who wants to start a business. And unfortunately, the property that we bought wasn't zoned for a business. So the council followed the correct steps, said you gotta go get this, you've gotta go through the steps, get the zoning changed, get it approved, and then you can come back to us about your business. So why wasn't this dealt? I mean, this is like, my ears are starting to get red probably, because I can't believe that this was allowed to happen. And that and I don't know if you were legal counsel back then or not, but why didn't you give the previous people that advice to take care of this before? Because these people are sitting here and they're being held back now because of what happened 2 years ago, and now they're stuck with it. I don't have an issue with you guys changing the zoning, because eventually it's gonna be done.
I think you asked the question 3 or 4 times, you asked the same question. I have to respond to it. That's what happened when our city engineer and myself were making a part.
Oh, wow.
We were not part of this. Okay. Our engineer, up until maybe this month has not got involved when all this regular lawsuits were going on. I was not involved. I knew nothing. I don't take part of what goes on here in the city hall. When people come get permits and they start with their issues with development, that's what we have staff here at City Hall to take care of those issues. Unless something comes up and says, hey, we got this, everything you have to do it, then I jump in and I start to get into it.
Well, then they should
I
have.
was not involved, I was in the dark, so just the way that the city engineer. That's what we're in this pickle right now,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to maneuver and help this council not get into a big pickle.
That's why, because we got him involved, we have him involved, we're reading it, that's why he's normally not in this type of meetings.
Well, that's a
We have him
shame.
involved.
That's a shame.
All
And
this-
I mean,
you know what-
like I said,
You know what, it all falls, you know what really falls back on? It falls back on your previous city secretary, because she should have known, because she was the one running the city. She should have known all this stuff, and she should have made all them aware of what was going on, what's the process, that first you do the annexation, and you make sure you send out the letters, and you inform everybody, with the developer and everything too. And then she should have notified them that after that, the next step is to do the planning and zoning. You see, it's her, it falls on her, and it falls back on your consultant that we had before, he's no longer with us anymore, and it falls back on your previous mayor. Why? Because he had been here more than 25 years. He knew the process.
yeah. Well, that's a shame, and I appreciate your honesty. I appreciate your honesty. That's a shame,
And
because
the
now these
other
people,
council, the same thing,
these people have probably spent lots of money already to start developing, and now they're being held back. Now, I don't have an issue as a citizen. I mean, it doesn't really affect me because I don't live in that side of town, but I might want to buy one of y'all's houses later. But it depends on how nice they really are. But moving forward, I don't see an issue with just changing the zoning, but not allowing building to go up until the engineers and everyone is all caught up, and we make sure that whatever's gonna be done it's not gonna affect the rest of the community.
That's why our engineering.
So I mean, I don't have an
Their
issue
engineer's
with that.
gonna do a walkthrough the
That's,
area.
that's
to
what
make
they're
sure
trying to
everything-
come to. He's
Yes.
saying, the attorney's saying the plans have been approved to change the zoning, but it's subject to the plan, the engineering plans.
The zoning hasn't been approved yet. That's what we're here to do, the zoning.
I just have a comment, I'm going like, you know, we shouldn't rush it. This guy, the developer, evidently this is not his first rodeo. This is not his first development. You know what I mean? That he let it happen, knowing he should know what steps he needs to do. And he just sat there, and then he didn't take those recommendations that you were talking about, Isaac, just a while ago. They gave him recommendation. What did he do? Not in good faith, he just disregarded it.
But it's-
So he can, as far as I'm concerned, this is what happens, and this is why you're gonna wait.
I say
Tough
table
titty,
it, table it.
tough titty but kitty.
Cause it is funny,
No.
Janie, you live in my neighborhood, has it ever been like the way it is now?
Yeah, we need gondolas now.
Give me a boat, I can take my kids to
Yeah.
school, I'm like,
Like, the
It's
neighbors
horrible.
that moved in, I told them, I said, and let me warn you, if we get a heavy, fast rain, that the rain comes out fast,
like when the,
Yes,
the hell
yes,
came.
I said, move those cars, I said, do not park them on the side of the road, put them up on your driveway, because Gina Lopez messed up her BMW, because it was out there and that water, the boys moved it. And that was they started it, so I went through the.
And you know, there's a lot of elderly, and it's like, what
Yeah.
happens if they fall down? I mean, how are they gonna get out? Those are like concerns. I'm not the elderly, but I'm just saying like, hey, let's be real, this is what's happening. You know, what do you do? The ambulance isn't gonna go in there.
Ms. Vargas, to answer what you said, that this is not their first rodeo, you are correct. It's not the contractor's first rodeo, but it wasn't the mayor's first rodeo either at that time. Now, they met with him and the drainage district back in November 2019. It was the mayor's job to bring it back to his council. He did not, because there are 3 people sitting here on the current
And
council.
that's why he's not there.
And they did not even know what planning and zoning was. They had never met. They didn't even know who the people were. So it all falls back on your mayor, like the mayor said, your mayor, your city secretary, and the consultant. Now, I'm not defending the previous city secretary. She didn't know it. Your consultant knew it, or he should have known it, because this wasn't his first rodeo either. So it all lies back, your consultant, your mayor, and the city secretary. If the city secretary didn't know it, that's what the consultant was supposed to be there for. If nothing else, your mayor. Your mayor's been 25 years plus. So in their defense here, they didn't know anything because they were not told.
It's just, this is just a commentary from my part. It's just a shame that in this world, we have to settle for mediocrity.
Yep.
That's the standard of the day, which you shouldn't be. You don't want mediocrity in the hospital when you're laid up and you're sick. You're tied up to all those tubes. Those nurses better know what 0.05 is against 0.50. You know what I mean? So.
And in
It's just
their
sad, it's a
defense,
sad state of affairs.
In their defense, they really have no reason to know. It's the city secretary's job, just like it's my job, to keep them informed. And when I came on board, that I came across this, that's why we had executive sessions with our city attorney, trying to see how we were gonna resolve this. And this wasn't the only one, there was another one. And then there's still another one that was all left behind, and the mayor knew it. The mayor handled everything. If you ask these 3 people that are sitting here, they'll tell you they don't know. And they're not lying to you, they did not know. That's why we're in the pickle, like our city attorney said.
And the attorney didn't know.
So, and they didn't know.
And the attorney didn't know.
So, I mean, It's not their fault, it wasn't their first rodeo, but it wasn't the mayor's either. And all we gotta do is try to work.
Gutters that are in those streets, wonder where they're taking all that water. Well, is it going towards Cooper Road, or
No, it's.
those gutters have gotta be taking that water somewhere?
Where are they?
Because there's gutters in those streets.
No, in that area?
No, not y'all,
Not
but.
y'all.
No, the new area, oh
In the
yeah,
new
they're
area.
nice gutters, 'cause I walked that area, I'm like, oh wow, they're like
Well,
very,
it goes in the tank.
Gutters, they go into the retention.
It goes in the return, yeah.
which is overflowing, which is coming to us. That's what I'm saying, it's coming.
Okay,
out.
there's your, yeah.
No, Coop gets flooded out.
Yeah, because it goes into the retention.
So if this hearing's just to do the zoning,
That's
I
all it
mean,
is to do, that's all it is,
Uh,
we're just
I
here
mean-
for the zoning.
I'm not trying to be ugly, mayor, or nothing, I'm just like, I'm speaking for the people because this is affecting us all in general. That live in our area, it is really affecting us, I've never seen it like this. Cause Ms. Tidwell made a comment, it's always flooded like this, has it always flooded like this?
Ask Mr. Marbo, Mr. Marbo didn't see anything. His job was to go up to the end and he would
You gutter.
take out, yeah, take the gutter out so that the water would flow.
Where's it?
On your street. That was before.
What year was that?
This was before the subdivision was started.
Is that where that barricade is that said don't go in? Yeah, that's right after that.
So look at all the water there.
Hold on, we have a
You see that water overflows in there.
On,
I don't
I'm-
understand.
I'm trying to see what Isaac is, so I do see like if we do approve the agricultural to residential, it's almost like we're approving it. But then say we have this meeting and what if something doesn't get resolved?
Then
Then,
they can't get permits to build.
but they've already started, they've not started development of housing, but they've already kind of started development, so. So can they continue to go through? That's a part where I'm like, would they be able to continue even though they
No.
don't have the plat, even though they've already started?
The only way they can continue is when the mayor signs off on that plan.
Whatever the drainage is done.
But that's the part where I'm confused, because they've already started, but yet it wasn't done correctly, even though it was approved, but we didn't go through this whole process of like.
I think the city of Odom's gonna be responsible, and
Yeah.
there's gonna be a problem.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
So that's a part, that's where I understand like it's just making it residential, but I do see the part where Isaac is saying, it's like we're almost agreeing to the construction, that's where the part that I'm kind of conflicted a little bit. It's like, yes, I do think it's just easy to switch it, or not easy, but it should be changed agricultural to residential to be able to do the development. But it is like we're also approving, like we're gonna say, we want to continue to go through with it in hopes that it's gonna be
Because
resolved.
the reason for that also is if they, when we do the walkthrough tomorrow also, and they agree, but they need to put it in writing, and they agree to go through with the drainage district and then fix what needs to be fixing to where it doesn't flood, like it's flooding right now, or to avoid bringing in any more water than necessary to the residents.
That's what I'm saying, what if they don't?
Then they
It's
can't
gonna
get
just-
permits to
No,
build.
you don't just,
You don't sign the plan.
Then you
They
can't
can't build, they cannot start building until the final plan gets registered at the courthouse.
and we don't have.
Yeah, it's not gonna be the first, I mean, it's not gonna be the first development that sometimes the developers, will just turn around and say, you know what, this is gonna cost me way too much money. I've already invested in it, but I'm not gonna spend any more on it and walk away from the project. And then later on, a new developer buys the property and decides they're gonna follow whatever the city wants done, and then they'll fix the problems and then develop. So it wouldn't be the first development where a developer says, you know what, no, it's gonna be too much, and we're just walking away from it.
Yeah, but
So-
because
The damage is
it
already
was
done.
approved by the previous city council, the city of Odom, I think, is going to be liable.
But what they signed, was it already signed off that they could start building homes in there and everything, even though it wasn't
Well,
zoned?
it doesn't even
So-
matter
okay,
about
so-
the homes, like,
yeah,
if
so
the
that
damage
doesn't
is
really-
done though, it's already been done. The streets and all that stuff, the incline there too, so what's gonna be resolved on those scenarios?
The final plan has never been brought. Because the drainage,
Yeah.
they got, what we have is just a preliminary.
Everything's gotta
Because on
take
the plan,
place.
It does not say final.
So they have to fix all that,
Yeah.
right? And they'll let us
Before
know,
they
That
get
is
permits to
final.
build a house.
Like the letter we got, they'll send us a letter?
he was approved to go ahead.
This is what you have to do.
Not building, but what he's got in
Do the work
it,
he's already
what
done.
he's got in it. I'm just saying, I think,
Some was. You can say it was approved, but
It was.
I heard it was one person approved.
Maybe
Well,
Things were done
let's
wrong.
just think what else did
You're
the
saying-
problems
Things were
be
done wrong.
rectified and they go.
They didn't know.
And I agree, we didn't know, we do rely, like I learn a lot, I rely on them to explain to me, because I'm not a city employee. I'm here to help make the best decision based on what's
What they
told
tell
to
us.
me. But it's just like, you're on the school board, you probably don't know everything about the school. There's no way, I probably know way more than you do because I work in the school system. And I know the laws and when it comes to that, but when it comes to the city, it's different. So we rely on them to tell us, but if we don't know, I mean, if we didn't know. I didn't even know, honestly.
living in North End. And I would say it happened, I knew a little bit like this happened, and then COVID happened, so really, I didn't even know it until later I found out. No, it wasn't this. But previous, well, she wasn't a city. Oh, you are. I told her, they don't ever notify that they were yeah, they did not need to work until we came in, we told her, and you know, that you just all this information about who in her death. We have to, and then we started having these meetings, and that's how we learned. Well, I mean, this is a good thing, because I think things need to change, I think, you know, people need to stay more informed, and, we need to, I know what the problems at hand, and
like I said, work together on it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
work
it
together,
needs to be
but,
more communication.
Miss Alvaro, like, with you, you work at the school, right? So you know all the ins and outs of the school, right?
A lot.
Okay. So like, you didn't know anything
No.
of what's going on in the city?
We knew that they were going to start this, but that's,
Then we knew they wanted to subsidize, but we didn't.
but we didn't know that these processes needed to take place prior to us.
So the mayor never told you?
I didn't know.
Wow.
And Hector said that last week.
You didn't know either, Hector?
Not on the annexation, that was my first, I had just been elected when we did the annexation.
How long have y'all been elected? You, Ms. Tidwell?
We're all new.
You're all new? Oh, okay.
I mean, we were here
They've been here
before
No,
those
we've
guys.
been here.
We've been here, but not that long.
Yeah, like the process.
This process never
I
came up
remember
before,
we had
so
a
how would we
meeting,
know?
and then they said we didn't do something right, so we had to go back and have another meeting.
They were misinformed.
They were
They were
misinformed.
misinformed, the majority of times they were misinformed. Because when I was in city council for 18 and also, there was a lot of misinformation that were given to them.
Oh, okay.
But now.
Do you live in Odom? Oh.
And I street was probably just as bad as yours.
We,
Every time.
where, do you, if you don't mind me asking, like, what part? On the where?
Yeah, it's flood. It will always flood, and there's nothing.
So whatever the creek said.
It will always flood. We were stuck in our homes last
Yeah.
for several days.
I lived in the, and when it, that massive rain that we got, I was gonna run on my truck going to them. The water was almost to the top of the fire hydrant there by the dog.
So y'all don't think that global warming's taking place to this, that it's gonna get worse?
No.
No?
I don't know.
I'm just saying, like, it's been a little weird the way the weather is, so like, I can't predict what's gonna happen in the future, but I do know I have little ones and I don't want something to happen to them, you know?
I just think we need to make it right. Everybody lives up again.
Yeah.
And make the streets higher and.
It's not really getting worse. It's in 1986. I graduated in 84, and I was here. It was bad. We had some rains, but of course, it was south. You know, so there's nothing really outside. The only place in North that really touched was where she lives over there. We're not only got to get it. That thing.
That.
No, not that, on this, in town. Yeah, right where the creek is.
Where the alligator was.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Alligator.
Yeah, years ago. Well, 1984, the one they're talking to, all the way up to where Danny's shop is, behind him, behind that neighborhood, behind him, that 84, they had a piece of water in there. There's anything from the fields out, going to a headquarters, down the so it all backs up. Sometimes they'll start. So sometimes they walk away from it. You know what? It's gonna cost me.
Thank you. It was
What's your
nice to
name?
meet you, Sandra Vasquez, Latino Maestra.
David Maldonado.
Start planning
My family's a
property.
bargain. You're better than me.
You need to start planning the property.
We just got one item. This item alone.
I'd like to make a motion that we change the zoning from A to R1 to 17.5.
Motion made by Lynette, is there a second? Any discussion?
I'm just concerned about not, that they're not coming. We're just doing agriculture. No, but I'm just saying, I'm just concerned that what if there is not an agreement, made, that's what I'm saying, between the drainage and the developer, that's just like something, it's like, oh, we approved it, but they couldn't come together because something wasn't done.
Before any development, anything gets done, it has to go back before the city council to approve the development. To continue.
At the December meeting, December 7th, the council will, the planning and zoning will take it for recommendation to the city council on December 7th. We're meeting with everybody tomorrow. So if anything's gonna start happening, it's gonna start happening next week, the week after, because next week is a short week for everybody. Also, another thing, the board makes it to the council, there has to be a letter that I will type up from the chairman of this committee to represent your whole board. And in that letter, you all can make recommendations. Like Mr. Dominguez was concerned, and now you all are concerned about the fence that can be put in there. Am I correct?
I think a ditch could be put in there.
Like if you all want a fence, we'll put it in there, and it goes to council.
Well, there's a lake that the kids can run in there right now.
A fence around the lake.
Around the retention pond.
Around the retention
Yeah,
pond.
that's the fence that
We
he's
requested
talking
they put up
about.
a fence all the way around.
That's the fence that he's talking to, so that nobody can get in there in their retention pond. And you can
Unless
also.
your children climb the fence.
You can
Well,
also.
y'all have boys, they will climb that fence if they want
Say, I know
to.
what you're thinking.
You can
Well,
also.
I guess we didn't have a.
Yes.
Because I've seen that in Corpus where they have big, steep ditches, like to keep the,
They also have retention ponds all over.
well, that's Corpus, so we're Odom, we're a small town, I mean, how big do you want Odom to be?
What I'm saying is prevent this from happening. Those retention ponds.
You know, I feel that y'all are wanting us to, it's just a change, it's just a change. Y'all are wanting us to do what was done to the previous council before. You know what, if it takes longer, and so they do it right, then let it come back to us. At least we know we have that ball, and it's in our court. And if it takes longer, it takes longer. And it's
Just
done
the
right.
zoning change is not gonna be.
It's just like it happened overnight. You didn't know about it. It happened overnight. And look what happened.
I know.
You had no idea.
But the
So
zoning
you're washing your
change-
hands.
The zoning change is not gonna allow them to do it.
But you're the
I don't
attorney,
believe
you just said
I
that.
don't believe it.
Councilman Dominguez, you are correct. It can come back to you all, and it will, on December the 7th. Like I said, they still have between tomorrow and December 7th to see if any progress is being done. At that time, council can accept it, they can refuse it. Because you all can refuse the recommendation from the planning and zoning. If they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, then it will be your all's fault. Final decision is council decision.
Let
As
me just
council,
say that if the zoning changes now, and this builder decides to walk away from the project, he says, that's gonna cost us way too much money, and I don't want to do it. That's fine, he can walk away from the project, but another builder will come in, and we don't have to go through the process of changing the zoning then, because the zoning was already changed. All we need is if this builder decides that he does not want to follow whatever recommendations is given, because it's gonna cost him way too much money, he is free to walk away from the project. He can sell the property to another builder who will come in, and we don't have to be going through this process later on for that new builder who is willing to spend whatever money it takes to make sure that these issues are addressed. I don't want to not do something today, and then this builder decides, well, I'm walking away, and then another builder sitting out there saying, well, you know what, we could buy that property, but it's not zoned. So now I'm gonna have to go through the city to get it all zoned. I have to go through all that hassle. It'll already be zoned for the next guy if this builder decides that he doesn't want to invest in it anymore, and he wants to walk away from it. So just think about it that way.
But what about us for right now, though?
It doesn't matter because it's already occurring to them, that the work that's there has already affected them. So, you know.
So he goes and sells the property to somebody else, and they buy it because it's already residential.
Well, let me tell you, Mr. Dominguez.
The problem is still there.
The thing is, Mr. Dominguez, the problem's already there, and if the builder decides tomorrow to just walk away, the problem's not going anywhere. It's already there. The issue is that the city won't, if the zoning has changed, the city can go out and try to bring in a new builder to finish the project and correct the issues. So, I mean, it's kind of, you know, both ways, but either way, if he decides that this is gonna be too much and he walks away tomorrow, the problem's already there. If another builder decides next week, you know what, I'll buy that property, I'll develop it, I'll fix those issues, but it's not zoned yet. So I'm not, you know, this is just giving somebody else an opportunity to come in without having to go through all this.
He's in the city limits, so that's a big plus.
Yeah, exactly, no, it's not so.
He's
agriculture.
He's agriculture, so
agriculture.
he's still in the city limits. So he's technically in the city limits, so that's.
It's still not zoned
But
for
to zone it as a residential, if he decides that it's gonna cost too much money and walk away from the project, the problems are still gonna be there. But it'll already be zoned for the next guy who wants to come in and do what we expect them to do, so.
But we would be responsible for creating some type of drainage until somebody.
You still will. You still will. If
Yes,
it's-
we will, but whoever comes in though would have to still try and resolve it as well. Like either we resolve it if it becomes our property and change to residential. We're seeing if the developer leaves, but if they leave and no one buys it for a while, we would still have to do something to make sure that we're protecting the people that are
years
there.
ago.
So I mean, it's either the person that's developing, and if they don't develop, then it would be us.
The drainage.
Or a new developer that, if they do. If that happens.
Huh?
Yes, Coach Gar, I was there when Coach Garza and.
I wasn't here.
I was there
I
when.
wasn't here. They were
May
getting
God
talking
rest his
about.
peace. I was there before we purchased. Coach Garza he was the owner of the home. He argued with the mayor. The mayor that is no longer here. And didn't he? And he put a little piece of asphalt and he said, this needs to stop because it was like the water buildup was being there.
I didn't know if no one.
I was there.
It should have been taken care of 30 years ago.
Well, there's a motion.
Okay, motion was made to rezone it for better.
I got for you to add some conditions to then, make your motion. As far as the fencing,
The HOA.
and that the drainage issue be looked into and resolved it needs to be.
Well, all of
This
it is
station-
training, zoning, all of those other issues are gonna have to be.
But it would be with the stipulation of their steam flow. Like you're saying, I would think.
This is just a zoning
This
change.
is
This
zoning.
is just a zoning change.
Yes, but the planning and zoning can make recommendations to the council as to the way you all want it done.
And then they, then.
And then listen,
But
But this
recommending
is
to the
changing the
council.
zoning, not going, we talk about that every
But
time.
you-
After the zoning.
But we're saying we want it to be residential with those
Yes,
conditions.
with those.
Because you
Well,
can just
I'm
say
gonna
you're gonna
tell
make
you
it
this.
residential and just,
A lot of those drainage problems in that neighborhood should have been taken care of 30, 40 years ago.
yes, but we're saying the new neighborhood,
And
they'll
that,
have to be make
those,
sure
but what I'm
that
saying is, those people putting in that new neighborhood should not be responsible for that drainage in that neighborhood.
But we're
Miss Tidwell, it's getting worse, honestly. With good faith, it's getting worse.
They're not gonna do anything with Florida or Diachi.
We had a mayor talking about their incentives, just to talk about her. I'm sorry, it's getting worse, that's the only reason why. So our zoning. Yes, there is an attorney.
So what I'm gathering is, it doesn't matter whether it's zoned or it's tabled. These conditions have to be met first, is that right? Why should we give him any advantage?
Well, it's not even giving him the advantage to change the zoning.
Well, if we zone it and he still doesn't do it, he got his zone though, didn't he?
Yeah. He
He
can't
can't
do it.
build anything on it, but he got his zone.
Yeah, but
That's the
that's
thing.
us, we're zoning it, period.
That's why we're arguing, discussing, excuse me.
Discussing, yes.
You know, just to change the zoning isn't gonna resolve the language.
Well, I'd say what do we got to lose to table it?
Well, because then you have to go through meeting after meeting after meeting that we've already done. By law.
By law, this hasn't been right to begin
Well,
with.
but I'm just saying,
But that's what you ran,
all
so
we're,
you could
all we're
represent
doing is
Ocean.
changing the zoning for those 14 acres, period.
You're just caring about the 14 acres, what about us though, that been
That's what
there?
I just said, that's why they're meeting tomorrow with the drainage commission. and
The attorney just said he was in the dark. That's like already a red flag to say, hey,
Yeah, but now.
Now it's not.
but now he's not, so you shouldn't even be considering anything right now. He's the voice of reason. He's your attorney.
He just said, that's why they're meeting with the people tomorrow.
So do you think that we should zone it? For what? For residential?
I think it's a legal standpoint. I'm trying to see, I don't see that's what we're talking about. Council approved it. Now, even though it's been approved, we can't throw money here right now. This process needs to take place. But
That's why so many people in our area are so discouraged because of this fact.
what happens now is that tomorrow, when they do that point, if some issues haven't been resolved, that's when the mayor says, you know what, I'm not gonna sign the final plans until these issues get resolved. You know what I'm saying? So-
I understand what you're saying, but that's why so many people in our area are selling their homes because of that fact. And you're not, it's not getting resolved. It's just basically like, you're gonna do a walkthrough. We've been promised so many things and nothing's being resolved, ever. So in this scenario, I remember Coach Garza, may he rest in peace, he very much told the mayor, this has to be resolved, and he said, I'm gonna do it. Never did nothing. And that was back in the day, before we purchased a home. So nothing's getting resolved, and it's a little offending to me because this is like, well, it's zoned into residential. Somebody else, like they just said, or someone just said, somebody else can buy it and then build, because we already made it residential.
Build until we left them.
But you kind of sound like you want to let people build.
If everything's resolved.
Nobody can build, whether they want to build or whether the next person wants to build, they can build, they cannot build until the final plat comes before us to approve it.
And I think that you should let the community know in our area, don't forget about us, like honestly. To let us know, like you sent the letter, awesome. But let us know, like go and have a community meeting right there and say, you know what, this is what's going on, or whoever, or the builder, say this is what's going on, this is what's gonna be resolved. We talk with the drainage, because these are big concerns.
We should have answers by the next meeting, the December 7th meeting that we're having, and we will put it in the agenda to discuss what the issues, what they're doing, what they're refusing to do, what's gonna happen. And that's another reason why we go live, so that the citizens can see what's going on.
But not a lot of people go live.
Yeah, because it's YouTube, I know, it's free YouTube, and it's hard, I know, but.
You gotta get your hands dirty and just
And so,
be honest.
can we just figure out something for their street?
Well, that's on the works, that's on the works too, we have to talk, we're talking to the neighbors. It's just that we don't have any answers right now, until we do take their recommendation, then we'll bring it up also. But we are talking to the drainage district about the lower areas too, that especially. We're not forgetting about them, we see that.
It's not going
It's what?
It's not going the water, it's not.
So whether they build or not, we still are gonna look into trying.
Yes.
Yeah, Ms. Alvaro, like the water just stands still. Like I can put a float if there was not snakes and just free over it. Just chill, because honestly, there's no water flow. There's nowhere. It doesn't go nowhere. It's just entrapment. But then you get mosquitoes. You get everything there. So you're forgetting. Like I feel like we're just abandoned. We're like jump ship. You know? Huh? No, it wasn't for 40 years, Ms. Tidwell. I don't know why you're saying that. Did you live there?
I've lived here that long.
No, but did you live in that area?
They just built a house and every time it rained, it happened, it was up to the curb.
That's okay.
Up to the curb.
When we was out there, all we did was going up.
Always.
Yeah, but we don't wanna make it worse, Mr. Will,
No,
and that's the
that's what I'm saying.
problem. So, and if maybe this project, if they do what's recommended from the engineers and the water district, maybe it'll even help their community with the water flow.
Well,
So,
like I say,
you know,
I think
let's
something
not,
goes
you know,
over,
say that because
needs to be
they're,
placed on certain roads so that water goes somewhere.
I don't
Where I
like,
used to live, on 2289, those houses closed, right there, those, I shouldn't they let it fall
Well, I
down.
think they're gonna build over there too. So you're just
But what I'm
basically.
saying is, the county was just now, and that's been going down for 7 years, been out for 30 years. The county was just now, they're putting over saying that there is cost. The water goes in, digging up those ditches. So it's up to the county to do something.
It's a little discouraging though. You get where I'm coming from. It's discouraging because it's like. So who's gonna fix that for us? We didn't have foundation problems.
Okay, I'll receive the money.
No, but the agriculture is all water.
Drainage and zoning. Okay. I make a motion that the, zone change from A to R1 from the 17.5 acres, 5 9 acre tract, to the rental stipulation that ranges, HOA, and PC be taken away.
Okay, motion made, for the zoning to be changed from agricultural to residential with the stipulations of asking the developer to fix the drainage and to have the HOA and to do the fencing. Motion made. Second by Yolanda. Okay, we had discussion. We will not take the vote. Case one? Yes. Case two? Yes. Case three?
No.
Case four?
No.
Case five?
Let's see.
Motion adjourned.
Second.
Motion made by Jesse, second by Isaac to adjourn.
What time is your meeting tomorrow?
Mayor, what was the vote?
I couldn't hear
I
you.
don't know.
No.
It's no.
No, okay.
Which house do y'all live in? Is it, you're gonna go egg my house?
No.
116 Flower. Right there. That's, we're like a little bit further down. That's where Marcus is.
Oh, William, James Ray, Sierra, my Sierra.